I'll push through. Oh yeah, and there we are. And yes, we're in session.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on tonight's AGM. A very quick apology from our chairman, Kevin, who has been called away on a work call, so I'm going to be standing in for him. We have our fingers crossed that he will be able to come back to us as soon as his call is finished, but if not, you'll be stuck with us instead. Welcome to the BCS Learning and Development Specialist Group AGM 2019. Oops, is my thing, there we go. So the agenda for tonight is, well, I'm not going to bother reading it out for us because I'm sure everybody can read what's on screen instead. It is basically a duplicate from last year, but obviously with the updates for this year and going into next year. If people would like to sort of give me a virtual nod, but something that I can hear or see, to let me know when they're ready for me to move on to the next slide.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm doing what I'm told. Right, first off, apologies for absence. We have one of our committee members, Mini, has sent her apologies that she's unable to join us tonight. She is our inclusion and diversity expert. No other apologies have been received. Looking at last year's AGM minutes, I think we can hopefully all agree to accept them and move on. Yep. Yep. Okay, moving onwards. So social media and marketing, we no longer have the LinkedIn group, mostly because of the GDPR issues with storing people's information and all of that. It was deemed it was safer to remain within the grounds of GDPR to basically close that down. Twitter, however, is still part of our marketing activity for events. So we retain our Twitter handle of @BCS_L&D_SG. And we had 510 followers, which is very nice to see that we have now increased by 30 odd. If anybody would like to assist, we don't have a full-time social media and marketing person. I do it as and when needed, if I remember. But if anybody is interested in helping us to increase our activity, you are most welcome to join us. Please let us know if that's going to be the case. Moving onwards, Chair's report. So standing in for Kevin. We are, of course, the specialist group is for those involved in the development, delivery or management of learning to IT and communication professionals and users. So we are as inclusive as we can be, and if you are in L&D in any form, we are the specialist group for you. Hopefully everybody has seen that. We've had that for a few years now, and we haven't changed in that respect. We still want to be as inclusive of everybody in this sphere as we can be. Our SG members are specialists in a wide range of skills. It's pretty average. It's pretty standard across all the 4 specialists. So we've got end user skills training, 18%, professional skills training, 18% again, technical skills training, and university education are both 16% equally. We launched our technical training management book with SEDMA Europe. That was successfully launched in April 2019. Those who were able to attend actually received a copy with a very special cover on. However, it is still available, or it is available from the BCS bookshop as both a hard copy or an EPUB. It's been quite well received as far as I'm aware. So if you haven't got your copy yet, we do recommend that you have a look. I think it's almost finally in this little portion. In terms of the BCS, we've now they're now focusing on supporting careers, facilitating professional development, and members and others in working in the computing profession at every stage, sharing expertise. I'm not going to read it all out. Improving education, influencing practice, and driving standards. So it's fair to say that as the L&D specialist group, we are also now focusing on this to align ourselves as much as we possibly can on the BCS itself. And I'm going to hand you over to Mark for our Treasurer's report. Mark, as you need me to move the slides over, just say it, okay?
Well, as you've introduced me, yes, can we have the next one, please?
There we go.
So, as usual, last year, we don't really generate any income, so we kind of rely on the budget that's given to us by BCS. And as you can see, our outgoings are actually a little bit more than the actual running than our budget allocation, but nobody really seems to mind. So, and the main reasons for that expenditure were, with the book sponsorship, and then also the co-hosting of the events with SEDMA, which I think there's a couple of those, but pretty much business as usual for last year. So next one. So the allocation this year, it got a little bit confusing because we put in a budget request to cover the conference, which we haven't now decided to run. The standard allocation, which seems to be the standard allocation for all groups, is 1,800 a year, and basically anything additional to normal running has to go through a SFR or special event. So we're down to our £1,800 a year, but given that we're not really planning to do anything major, that's not too much of an issue. And if we do anything major, come back up with the conference, then we will do that by any SFR or special funding request. So if anybody does have a good idea of doing anything which requires reasonable funding, we do need to have a good amount of notice, because they only have the committee meetings to allocate additional funds on a fairly infrequent basis. Next one. So as I said, the allocation is fairly standard. There is a big drive to minimise any travel and accommodation costs, which we obviously do because committee meetings and indeed this AGM is all being done remotely and virtually, so that's not too much of an issue. If we do have events in different locations, then we'll probably end up with a subset of the committee attending to minimise any of those costs. Also, where we're looking at events, we should be looking for sponsorship, hosting, or working in partnership, particularly with the branch meetings. One of the things that came out of the membership meeting that I went to, over a month ago now, was to try and get much better collaboration between specialist groups and branch meetings. So if anybody does have any contact into local groups, then that's where we can get some traction, maybe by working with those. We don't really have anything particularly planned to go for this year. We have potentially been talking with the Bristol branch to do an event in Bristol, which to a certain extent would be a scaled down version of what we were talking about for the conference. And again, the cost for that would be fairly minimal because we'd host it at a friendly local organisation. The branch could potentially pick up some of that. Travel costs would be fairly minimal for Kevin and myself, so we can do that and then if we can potentially think of similar events elsewhere, that would be good. I think that's it, isn't it? The next one. It's the next one. Yeah. So that's me.
Thank you,
Any
Mark.
questions? No, good.
Thank you, Mark. I'm now going to introduce Gary Thornton, who is our secretary, for his report.
Yep, good evening. So the Secretary's report, the first slide there really shows the rules that we comply with within the BCS framework. Following the precedent set by Mark and Michelle, I'm not going to read every bullet out, but the important one is at the bottom, that we fully complied with all of the major changes in the member group policies that came around due to GDPR that impact the whole of BCS, and we also support the equality diversity requirements under the rules. So we are good boys and girls, and you know, we do what we need to do. Next slide, Michelle. Okay, so the L&D-SG committee, we've met online 11 times since the last AGM. So we meet on average pretty much every month. Sometimes miss out August and sometimes miss out December, depending on what's happening. An agenda is circulated prior to every committee meeting when I remember, and if I forget, then Michelle is usually on my case to remind me. And the business of the meeting really focuses on the forward event planning. So the you know, the events that we run with the branches or that we run jointly with SEDMA. And agendas and minutes of the meetings are published on the BCS webpage. So they're always there, so any member can refer back and see what we've been up to throughout the year. Okay. I'll do this one as well then. Ismin's not
Thank
here. Okay, so inclusion and diversity. We have Ismin on board as our expert. So she advises on what we need to do in this area. And we believe that we're demonstrating all best practices that we can. We're international. We have members from different countries and different ethnic groups. We have quite a large membership in places like Sri Lanka and Singapore. And we ensure as far as we can that if we get together for a meeting, that we're making it possible for everybody to join. So dietary requirements and disabled access are taken care of when we choose locations. And really that's as far as we go. Okay, next.
And as Dawn has very kindly reminded us, we do actually have, included in our committee member somebody with a registered disability, and so we make sure that they are also included to make our committee as diverse as possible.
Yep.
Now, are you doing this one as well?
Yes, I will do this one as well.
There we go.
Okay, so currently then, there's a little bit of confusion about the numbers, so please bear with me on this. But the latest figures that I have are that we have 1,456 members, of which 1,312 are actually BCS members, and 144 are not BCS members. Now, the confusion arose last year because we now have, within BCS, we have two different systems where member details are kept. And I think there's a possibility that last year we counted a couple of them, or more than a couple of them twice, because we don't have access to the raw data. We just have access to the summaries. But we feel fairly confident at the moment that the 1,456 is correct. Over the last 12 months, we've had 49 new people joining the group and only 8 leavers. So, you know, we could be increasing in numbers again. Okay, I don't have any, in previous years, I've been able to publish the split between male and female and between different age groups and between UK and overseas. But because of GDPR, I no longer have access to that type of information, so all I can give is the raw numbers. And it's me again.
It's mostly you, isn't it? Okay.
Okay, so nomination of committee members then. So unless we have any real objections, I guess, or volunteers to the contrary, might be more appropriate. The three officers are Kevin, Mark, and myself as the chair, treasurer, and secretary, and membership secretary, respectively. And I think all three of us are prepared to continue in these roles unless anybody else wants to step into the breach.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stuck with those roles, guys.
I think it was, yeah, I think it was more acceptance rather than, yeah.
And Kevin hasn't got a choice.
I just think you do such a good job, and I'm not being, patronising there. You do such a good job, all three of you, so I can't see any reason. If it's not broke, let's not try to fix it.
Moving onwards then.
Mm-hmm.
We must try less hard. Must try less hard.
Must try hard. Yeah, must try harder not to do such a good job.
Okay, now the other committee members then that we have listed, Michelle as the events officer, Ken as our education liaison officer, Ismini as that we've already mentioned as inclusion and diversity, and Dawn as computing education officer. Sue was a member, Sue Martin was a member, but she's now taken a new role in somewhere in Europe. Is it Luxembourg or somewhere? Can anybody remember?
No.
Yeah. So
We'll just stick with Europe.
yeah. So she's standing down due to lack of time. Really. Okay. So next slide, please. Yeah. And I've received nominations from Adil and from Charles. They've sent through the official paperwork and their CVs, and the CVs are very interesting. They've both got the good experience in education, and I propose that we accept them onto the committee.
All those voting yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will include my name in that. So welcome Adele and Charles. We will be in touch with you in terms of committee. We will have, I think, the date of the next committee meeting, which will again be through GoToMeeting at the end, but I'm sure Kevin will extend his welcome when he can, and of course we'll discuss with you what it is that you would like to do, if there's something you would like to do in terms of the committee, or what you would be able to do. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh look, it's actually me now.
Thank you.
Anything else from you, Gary?
Don't think so, Michelle.
Okay, in which case, for those that don't know me, my name is Michelle. I'm the events officer, so I coordinate as much as I can the planning, and if it is on the odd occasion we've done the live one, I'm also the on-the-day organiser. Over the last year, we've actually done really rather well. So between 2018 and 2019, we introduced, or we had a webinar session from the LPI, Learning Performance Institute, about their capability map, which was run by their chairman, which introduced the new version of it. That was November. December, we followed that up with a brief online tour of the archives of IT, which was quite interesting. These have both been recorded and will be made available. We are just waiting for the official version to be made available so we can link through to them. January this year, we had digital credentialing, all following through with what we have been doing the year before, in fact. As we have already mentioned, April this year, we then had the launch of the Technical Training Manager book with CEDMA. This was a face-to-face with talk from one of the authors as well, which was very interesting. We then had our digital apprenticeship standards, Again, another online one with Mr. Ken Gaines, who is maintaining as one of our committee members. Sorry, and then we rounded off this year, or should I say last year officially, in September with the Balancing Act, Walking the Tightrope of Teacher Training for Computer Science Teachers from our very own Dawn. These have all been recorded, and I'm awaiting the news that they are ready and available to be made, shown to everybody. So they will be available online. There'll be links from our websites and the various pages. We're just waiting for the technical side to happen. This year, which of course is October through, at the moment, we've only got this event which everybody is attending, so I'm going to say thank you for that, which is our AGM. We have been asking people for ideas, and of course with the new facilities or the new focuses from the BCS, we are discussing how we can help and actually run some events, both online and wherever necessary, or wherever convenient, some face-to-face meetings, but no diary or schedule has been put in place yet. So we are asking for those attending and any of your friends, what are your ideas for events that we can run next year, 2020? If you do have any thoughts, please do email the committee. Details are available on the website. Continuing with me being Kevin, thoughts. We will continue to lead on adoption for the Sophia Skills Framework and Digital Badging. It's a year since Sophia 7 revision was done. Where does the time go? So there should be some plan to update everything and the apprenticeships to align with it. We are one of the facilities and one of the ideas that came through from the BCS was looking at ways to engage with the younger end of the populace alongside the branches and universities. Our membership is ageing and there's an awful lot of information and knowledge, and we don't want to lose that, but we also want to be able to keep the BCS and our specialist group specifically running. We do need to make sure that there is a new generation, not just standing in the wings, but actually ready to come in on board and to work with us. We work with education establishments, promoting the use of all things to help people become digitally aware. It's not there is no such thing as somebody who doesn't use technology these days. So we do want to continue and actually show people that technology is not just your mobile phone. There is more to it, both professional and personal. Working with other awarding bodies and BCS L&D Limited to gather the world of schools, FE and HE together to see what can be achieved as a digital savvy person. Working with organisations like Future.now and others to continue to ensure adults are not left behind and that everybody is kept equipped with skills to do their jobs with the latest technology. To have a conference as a primary focus. We did try last year, but there were some technical issues, not actually technology this time, but we are looking to hopefully run that and make sure that it is a success and not just put just our name to something that doesn't achieve what we want. So we do ask, what would you, our specialist group members, like us to focus on? If anybody has any suggestions and happy to share now, please do. We can take notes. We are, as I'm sure you're aware, recording this session so that we have these notes available to us. And if not, you're more than welcome, as normal, to actually contact us with your thoughts. Is anybody willing to say anything?
I've asked for the conference idea to continue as a primary focus, because I really do think that that's something that we need to, have as a priority, really.
Okay. So we will need all the members of our committee and of course all of our membership to work with us to make sure that we can actually run something that we're proud to put our name against and make sure it's a success. Please note, I'm not going to define what a success is.
I think the issue with the conference wasn't so much about what we could put out as content. It's how do we actually attract an audience.
Yeah,
I think that's our main issue. I'm sure we can fill a conference with worthwhile content,
yeah,
but we don't seem to be able to attract an audience. So I think that's where we need ideas.
Anyone else? Charlie, absolutely, you're welcome to share your thoughts over email. I'm just going to get your little message back up again. Yeah, as I said, absolutely, that's absolutely fine. We would be very interested to hear what you think. Yeah, that sounds really cool. For those that you can read the chat, obviously. Charlie's interest lies in bringing in early stage career people into the fold and those who are reskilling. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing that from you. Is there anybody else? In which case, Charlie, I hope you feel better really soon. A cold is no fun. Anybody else?
At this stage, Michelle, we seem to have got to the end of the AGM, but we've still got the GoToMeeting channel available, so we could end the AGM, and then if you want an informal or a free-for-all afterwards, then we can stick around and do that if anybody wants to.
There we go. In which case, as Gary has suggested, I'm going to formally end the AGM. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to a good new year. And in case we don't speak to people, have a happy holidays, going to be inclusive, and a happy new year. For those who would like to stay on for a little bit longer, if you'd like to have a conversation with us, we're more than happy to be here. Thank you.
I'll stop the recording.